It's the Hybrid Soul with Kelly Kinkaid. My guest today is a living legend. He's a Philly native with a catalog that is timeless. When you list your favorite artist in R&B, he's definitely in your top 5. Welcome to the show, Musiq Soulchild. How are you today?
I'm good. You?
Good, good. I'm ecstatic music because I've been playing this album that you did with Hitboy, who's a favorite of mine, over and over again. I want to start with, how did you and Hitboy come together and do this collaboration?
We connected on Instagram through the DM. You know, I reach out and one thing led to another, and I'm in LA picking beats.
Yeah.
To record, not really working on an album. We connected through the DMs on Instagram. Next thing you know, I'm in LA picking beats to work on some songs. I wasn't really in album recording mode yet. I was just recording songs.
Right.
And he was one of the producers that I was able to connect with during that process. Yeah, I was, I didn't realize how much of a fan of his music that I was, because a lot of songs that he produced on, I didn't know that he produced on.
Right.
But yeah, we talked a little bit. We didn't really talk much, actually. A lot of it was really just a understood thing. It was just a vibe that we sort of just connected with. And I've always had a very strong hip hop element in my music, and for him to be a hip hop producer, and also, him knowing who I am and being a follower and supporter of my music, I think it just helped to facilitate that whole process. Yeah, so it was pretty almost matter of fact.
Right. It's interesting because I ran into Hitboy the end of 2022 in Vegas, and he was telling me about the Nas project. And so when I got this project, I wanted to go, you didn't tell me about this. So I'm assuming
because
this
it really
was a fast project.
Yeah, it really wasn't like a thing yet.
Yeah.
And the paperwork wasn't even drawn up. I mean, by then I've recorded maybe like 3 or 4 songs.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really like a conversation about it being an album yet, so,
right.
I even got approached, from my managers, because my manager got approached from the label that I ended up being on, Varick Street, about potentially putting an album together. And this was like in September.
Right.
And I didn't like officially go into album mode until like October, November. And even then, Hit didn't know, because, he wasn't part of that conversation.
Right.
So, of course, by the time he, at that time when you said that you saw him, he knew I recorded some songs.
Right.
We didn't have no real conversation about it being an album yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
You are, I hope you know that you are a living legend. Your music is timeless. I can listen to so many, even from the first project, to many songs. When I told my friends you were going to be on the show, we went and reminisced on different songs that we loved about you. And I hope that it was such a pleasure to see you during the verses and the music that you've done, like with Robert Glasper and all. My question to you is, what keeps you motivated to do the music again and again?
That's a good question. Because I get into so many things. I'll just attribute it to the fact that I'm grateful that I get to do this. I'm grateful that I'm blessed with the ability to do it. The fact that people enjoy that I do it, how I do it, what I do. That's motivating, it's very encouraging, lets me know I'm doing something that matters in life, like I don't take that as a small thing. So I'm very grateful for that. So that's a good motivator for me.
Yeah. How do you keep the positive versus, I'm sure as an artist who's been at different labels and gone through various things with management companies and stuff, how do you keep focused on the music as an artist?
I I, I don't focus on the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I go through what I go through with it, you know, emotionally and mentally, spiritually, sometimes physically. I'll be exhausted, I'll be tired.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't focus on the negative stuff, you know. Happened, you know, like that's how life is. Like stuff is just going to happen, and you can dwell on that, you know, and it could be understandable to a degree. Like some stuff is hard to get over and get past because, especially when you're, you know, a person like I am, you know, you invest a lot. You know, you commit fully, you know, to circumstances and situations and relationships with people, and for them to go left, you know, it's kind of hard to just bounce back from that. The unfortunate fortunate thing about having gone through so many of it is like you start to get used to it. You start to be like, oh, okay, this again, you know. So it don't take you that long, you know, over the course of the following, you know, bad situations or whatever to recover. You know, it don't take that. It don't take that much. You start to see it coming, almost even, you know, and then you're like, oh, here it comes. Okay, cool. And then you just take your exit. You know, so I just focus more so on what is working, what is good, what does get me to where I need to get to, and that kind of makes the other stuff kind of fade into the background.
Right, right. When we look at all of your projects, when we look at songs like Love and So Beautiful, they had meaning. All your songs have meaning. When we talk about this album, Victims and Villains, I want to break down some songs, but the first I want to break down the title of the album. What got you to Victims and Villains?
It was actually a bar from the song We Were Just Binging. It's the last song on the album, which is actually the first song that I recorded for the album before I knew it was an album. And when I was trying to come up with the title for the album, I was just listening to the songs, and you know, that song was on when I was trying to come up with the title. And when that line, you know, came on, I was like, that's a really cool line. And then my next immediate thought was, well, why not make that the title of the album? And I was like, that's kind of hard. So, you know, just the process of things is happening like that. Me and my manager was in the car, and he looked at me, I looked at him, I was like, I think that's it. So, but then I had to come up with a song, you know, well, because I like for things to be a certain way.
Right.
I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like it was right to have an album called Victims and Villains and it's not a title track. So then I had to come up with so the title of the album came first, and then I had to come up with a song to kind of be the title track.
Right. Which is amazing, which is one of my favorite songs.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Love that song. Love the video. I think it's amusing that Jack Thriller is the judge in the video.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the song and the concept of the video that you chose to do.
So the song, I wanted to give it just a slightly different vibe that kind of had like a little edge to it. Just something different than the rest of the album, which is a lot of soul vibes, a lot of hip hop vibes. But this one, I wanted it to be a little more aggressive because of the subject matter. You know, what I'm talking about was pretty intense.
Yeah.
So I wanted to intensify the music a little bit, but not so much where, you know, I don't know, people might not have been able to connect with it, because sometimes when you do something that's very different than what people are used to, sometimes that kind of like don't read well. And Hitboy was with it. He's like, let's go, you know?
Yeah.
But the video, I wanted the video to depict the concept of dealing with a person that you thought was one way, and then later you find out that they're a whole different person than how they presented themselves to be. And that I was speaking to earlier, how, you know, I fully commit to a person. Like when I rock with you, I rock with you. But then when you end up not being the person that I decided to rock with, and now you're this whole other person and you still want me to keep going, it's like, no, you changed.
Yeah.
I was rocking with the other person. Can you bring her back, please? Because I don't know this one.
The representative.
Yeah, I thought the representative was the person, you know. And don't get me wrong, everybody do this thing. We all do it, you know, myself included. Everybody, I'm sure you've done it, where you present yourself in a very, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? You want to be likable. You want to be you want to win the person over. So you're gonna be the better version of yourself.
Right.
I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to a person being a whole different thing other than themselves. You know, almost like, you know, they go out with you to kind of like pick your brain to find out what you like and who you like, and then they become that, versus just being their authentic selves. Of course, you're going to be a better version of it. It's like when you go to work, or when you go to church, or when you go anywhere, you're going to dress up. You're not going to come out the house looking like anything. So I feel like that's the equivalent to when you present yourself to a new person. You're going to present yourself as the better version of yourself, right. The person that you want them to see you as.
Right.
But those are parts of you. You know, you're just curating them. It's like your social media feed. You're just curating the better parts of yourself. But eventually, you know, they're going to get to know you, you know, and they're going to have the context of, okay, I see this person, you know, on a day-to-day now. I know the behind the scenes version of this person, but I know they're always trying to be this version that they presented to me in the beginning.
Yeah.
Not the same thing as
the
you
pivot.
A whole character.
Yeah.
And then you get tired of acting because you felt like you locked in now, and I just got to deal with you now. It's like, nah, no, I gotta go. Yeah.
As an artist that started in your first project, I'm going to say 2000, late 90s.
2000.
How has it been as an artist coming out of Def Jam and your just journey with social media? How has that been for you?
It's still being for me. It's not been, it's still being.
Right.
Oh no, it's interesting because kind of make me feel like an old head. It's like I'm learning, you know, and I've been learning for the past about 3 to 5 years now, and it's a long learning curve. I understand that, but you got to understand, like prior to that, we're talking about, you know, close to 20 years of this not even being a thing, really.
Yeah.
No, I've already been successful. I've already made moves. I've already made a name for myself. I've already been impactful. I've already resonated with people, you know, thousands, millions of people before social media was a thing. And now in so many ways, I'm being told that I'm not good enough unless I'm doing, you know, big numbers on this platform or in this system. And it's like, but I'm already a thing. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
You know?
Engagement.
So, yeah, you know, and that's a whole nother thing. I come from a time where the less engagement was the better. You know, it was, you know, the less they know, the more, you know, intrigued they are, and the more they want to know. Now it's, you know, the less they know, the less interested they are. The more they know, the more interested. It's like it's just everything just twisted, you know. So
it was the mystique of it all. Like, ooh,
yeah, nobody cared about that. Like, oh, you want to be mysterious? Stay over there. Then now it's like that,
right?
You know, whereas though it's like, and it's almost to the point where they don't even care about the product or the content. You know, it's like they want to connect and fall in love with you, the person. But the weird thing about it is, you think you're falling in love with the person, you think you're connecting with the person, you're connecting with what we just talked about, the representative of this person. Like, you don't know this person.
Right.
You know, and this person, you know, they can tell you whatever they want to tell you, in front of this camera. Now, I don't mean that to say that everybody on social media is fake. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that too much of a playground for people to mess around and finesse you, you know? So I think that you can only really suss that out through consistency. And it's really interesting how a lot of people don't last that long. You know, they ride a wave and then they get washed out by the wave, you know? So I saw, you know, I'm a little old school, so I do use social media. I do, you know, I pull up every now and again because I recognize it's not going anywhere. It's a thing, like it's the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not that out of touch where I don't realize how relevant it is. It's that I have this whole other timeline that I've established without it, and you're not about to throw that in the trash because I was there, you know.
Right.
Has to happen, you know. So now it's a matter of just merging the two concepts of, you know, the tried and true longevity, consistency, integrity, all of that, with quick, fast, right now, ride the wave, you know, catch it while it's there. And, you know, I don't really catch a lot of stuff because everything changes so fast. So I just focus on what I do, and then I do my best to kind of like implement it in the now. Like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I have a, you know, really cool publicist, Mocha. You know, she's really
Mocha. Yeah.
Yeah. She be helping me out. She be pulling me aside, doing little TikToks and stuff. I don't even have a TikTok, but she's like, "You do TikTok today." And I'm like, hey, whatever. You know, and I do it, and it goes well. And it's like, okay, cool. I guess, you know.
When I think about
so, you know.
Yes, it is a lot, because once you learn one thing, it's something new that pops up. But music, I want to continue to give you your flowers because you have catalog. And the great thing about your music is that you're not old school, because I want to ask about who are artists that you listen to now, but you had a song that was kind of revived again through Lucky Day.
Oh yeah, yes. Lucky Day.
Yes, yeah, and yeah. I just wanted to ask you, like, how was that when you first heard the song, and do you listen to Lucky Day's music?
I've listened to it. I don't listen to a lot of music.
Okay.
Excuse me. Because there's this thing I made I have a personal policy that I've, you know, started a long time ago, because I had some really interesting run-ins with certain artists that felt some type of way because they were convinced that I was, you know, taking something from them creatively. I'm like, bro, like, we all getting it from the same place. This is just my version of it. What are you talking about?
Right.
You know, so, and I used to be, you know, a really big fan. Well, I still am a really big fan, a big supporter of a lot of artists. But I have a personal policy where I don't really listen to stuff, at least not extensively. I'll hear it to check it out, you know, and, you know, form my own opinion. So that way, whenever I see them, I'll be like, yo, I checked it out. I like it. It's really cool, blah, blah, blah. You know, so, and I'm not just lying like, oh yeah, I heard it, you know, good job. Like, no, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I don't, you know, and so that I can like be up to, you know, up to date with, you know, who's out there and who's doing what. And so when we collaborate, you know, I'm not starting from scratch with these people. So I do it, you know, for supportive and, you know, informative purposes. But I don't sit and listen to people's stuff over and over and over again, because as creatives, we sort of like soak that in, and unintentionally we'll remix it or recycle it in our own way, because that's just how creativity and inspiration works. Yeah. You know, or I'll go as far as to tell a person like, yo, I was inspired by that, and I'll let them know like, this is where I got it from, you know, so people don't feel, because you got a lot of sensitive people out there, a lot of sensitive artists, especially us. We're like very sensitive, especially about things that we identify with as our identity. So if we feel like somebody's trying to do us, we're like, hey, bro, what you doing? You know,
back up.
Yeah, because it's like you're trying to win off of my, you know, my efforts and my time. Like I put in work to kind of cultivate this, and now you just go and take it and blah blah blah. You know, it's not that I don't understand that, but personally, I don't think it's that deep.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
We're all trying to find the language, find the way to articulate and communicate the same vibes.
Yeah.
You know, and inspire people. And I love when people say things like, they were inspired by me. It's weird because people used to always come up to me through the years and be like, yo, you hear bro trying to do you? I'm like, he's not trying to do me. Like, he's doing him. He may be inspired by something that I've done. Yeah, cool, And I'm not talking about Lucky. I'm just talking about anybody.
Yes, understood.
So I don't take it no way. Now, naturally, of course, I'm a little, side eye to a person that's doing the whole Musiq Soulchild reenactment. And it's like, yo, what are you doing? Like, I mean, thank you for the compliment, I guess, but that's like a waste because you're doing a version of me. And after a while, a person is going to be like, well, I might as well just go to music. Like, well, I'm going to go to you to get a knockoff music. Like, I'm going to go to music himself or anybody. Why would I do a knockoff version of something that's already a thing that's out there? Now, if that's your natural sound, that's your natural vibe, then it's gonna bear out that, yeah, it kind of sounds like it, but not really. And there's a lot of artists out there that already have that thing that's very similar to somebody else. Yeah. But I don't think that, for the most part, I don't think they're trying to be these people. They're just expressing how they were inspired by these people, but they have their own identity. And some people can't see past that. They only hear that. Yeah. So I appreciate people like Lucky Day or anybody else that do things that are inspired by me. But and to the other part, of your question, yeah, I listen to a lot of people. A lot of the names escape me, but I've heard them. I listen to them. I'm really inspired by their energy. You have Lucky Day. You have her. You have who else? You got SZA. You got who else? You have Kalani. You have it's so many. Like all the names. All the names don't come to me, but I hear them and I see them and I support them and I respect them and I encourage them to keep going. Whether they were inspired by me directly or not. Because it keeps the culture moving. It keeps it fresh.
Yeah. When we talk about this album that's out now, Victims and Villain, this was a 3-man team. You, Hitboy, and Alex, correct?
Alex, yes.
Tell me about just the magic of making this whole project, because I'm going to tell you a couple other of my favorite songs, but the magic of this trio, you and Hitboy, it started, and then how did Alex come into the picture with this
Alex
project?
Was there from day one. Alex came to LA with me. The first day we went to Hit Studio, and we started working that day. Picked some beats and we just started working. And I've been working with Alex since like what 2000. I want to say like 12. Excuse me, something like that.
Okay.
He might, I might. The dates start to get a little. You do stuff for so long, you get up there.
Understood. Understood.
It's been a long time, and he's one of the, count on one hand, people that have been consistent in my life. Yeah. Professionally, and personally. Alex has been, he's been with me when it got dark. And we would have our talks, and I would vent about a lot of things, personal stuff, relationship stuff. It's so crazy, whereas though now, he can write a whole song for me and I'll be like, I don't have to change anything. Like, this is perfect. This is exactly my sentiment. This is exactly how I think and how I feel.
Yeah.
But naturally I'm going to tweak things here and there because, I wouldn't word it specifically. He can only do but so much, without actually being me. But he's gotten like super close to almost like telepathic, and I respect that and I appreciate that because it helps me to kind of hear my thoughts outside of myself.
Okay.
That can, that can kind of put it in a way, because he comes from a different generation. He's younger than I am, So he'll understand what it is that I'm trying to say, but then he'll say, yeah, but if you want to resonate with this whole demographic that's kind of running things, maybe you should word it like this. And I'm like, okay, I wouldn't have thought to word it like that, but I get how that would come across more effectively. Okay, cool. You know, and I'll mess around with them. Oh, okay, I kind of like it. Then I'll start to adopt that mindset. Like, oh, I get it now. So that's why I say I'm old school, because I can hear my thoughts and I'm like, yeah, people don't move like that too much anymore. Like stuff is different now, you know, and I think that's the sort of transitional threshold that a lot of us artists have a challenging time crossing, you know, and some of us just say, you know what, nah, I'm just gonna stay here. This works for me, I'm good. Whereas though me, because I want to do so much and I feel like I haven't really gotten started yet, it's like, okay, I know you want to do what you want to do, but you have to understand who your audience is now. You know, these are the people that you're trying to um, meet the expectations of. Right. So you have to do it where they are. You can't like try to force them over where you are, because some of them, they know about you indirectly. You know, they've been in earshot, you know, growing up. I got 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds telling me about, they know about me through their parents taking them to school and playing my music. It's like, now they're old enough now, they get it. It's like, so I have to take all of that into consideration. So it helps to have, you know, a younger mind help me to understand how things play out now. And that's why, you know, I work so well with Alex, because he understands where I'm at, and he was able to help me understand where things are for him, you know, because he's an artist himself. He's a writer, singer, rapper, producer, engineer. Yeah. Like I brought him out on the road with me. He was my tech for a little while. Like, wow. And he's an overall good dude. Like, he is the guy. So shouts out to Alex.
That goes to say, as a veteran in this game, how important relationships are.
Yes.
With people. But you talking about Alex and even Hitboy, I would assume I'm going to ask you about the making of I Remember You My Ex. Is that personal?
Oh, why y'all so toxic, man? It's just a real song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it was inspired by personal events, but it didn't. It didn't go exactly like that, but it's heavily inspired. You know, it's very rooted in a real feeling, so to speak. But none of my songs are verbatim. You know, they're all interpretations of spaces I know people go through. You know, I'm just using the energy of how I was impacted by those moments to fuel the vibe, so that when it gets to you, you're like, yo, that's real. Yeah, I know it's real, because I've been there. And yeah.
Yeah, that applies. So I'm going to tell you, so Victims and Villains, I play that over and over again, but let me tell you, with a close, I think this is my favorite second tier, Beat of a Slow Dance. That is classic Musiq Soulchild for me. Please tell me how that came about. It's a beautiful song.
Well, they all came about the same way. You know, me and Alex just hashing out ideas. You know, he'll throw something out there, and whichever one I resonate with the most, I'll be like, yeah, you know. And you know, a lot like working with Hitboy. It's very matter of fact. We don't do a lot of tugging and pulling. It's not a lot of like trying to like kind of. It's not, you know, it's like if it's flowing, let's just flow with it, you know. And a lot of the concepts, a lot of even down to the melodies, you know, like Alex would just throw a melody out there and I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. You know, something that I personally wouldn't have thought of to do. But then when I would kind of take it and then do it in a way that I would do it, you know, and then it becomes something else. But still maintaining the structure of the original concept, you know. And then that part is fun, because you never know how it's going to come out, you know. And it's like, let's just throw some stuff in there and then see, you know, how it sounds. A lot of the times it'd be a graceful freestyle. We just be, you know, throwing ideas out there and see how it feels. Like, we don't always have like complete thoughts, and I'll just start. It's like, let's just start recording and we'll figure it out. And
Beautiful.
most of the stuff come out that way.
Yeah.
A beat of a slow dance conceptually is, after, vibes like I Remember You, My Ex, and Victims and Villains is like after you've been through the pain, and then now you're being introduced with, the potential of something new, now you're a little scarred, you're a little wounded, but you don't want to be, sort of like defeated.
Mm-hmm.
You say, hey, we can move, but I'm gonna need to take it slow. Because I learned from my past, I was moving too fast. So maybe I need to like sit down somewhere and see where this goes. Yeah. So that's where I am now when it comes to relationships. And, when Alex presented the concept, moving like the beat of a slow dance, not no clubbing, I gotta know. A slow dance, you put on the slow sign, it's like it's tempo. It's like, hey, okay, I can do this, one step at a time, before we even get to the first date. Let's have a conversation about who is you, bro? Like, what you into?
Right.
What are we about to like do? Because I don't want no surprises. I don't need to know everything up front, but I need to have something that's going to make me leave a house. Like, because I'm not pulling up the dummy missions. I'm not doing that no more. And, myself included, like I have to change my movements. I have to change my perspective. I have to change my thoughts, my feelings. I have to change my intentions. Yeah. So it's just letting it be known. We can move, but this is going to be a little slow. And if you don't have time for that, it's all good. Yeah. But I'm not in no rush. I got other stuff that I got to focus on. So I could pencil you in, if you don't mind,
Wisdom. It just brought to mind a lyric from Mickey Howard. Experience is a good teacher. As an artist and growing through this music industry, what is something that you would tell Musiq Soulchild that started in 2000 now to be prepared for?
Watch the people around you, because everybody that got your back ain't got your back, but they got your back. Yeah.
Bar.
Yeah, they got your back, but not in the way that you need them to get your back. Yeah. And you need to get your back from them. Mm-hmm. Everybody ain't your friend. Everybody ain't your family. Everybody ain't there for you. Yeah. People like to play the role, and they like to send you off, up the street, while you out here doing for them, they doing for themselves. And then you come back, and everybody eating but you. That's not cool. Yeah. I'm not being vague, but to answer your question, that's what I would say. Watch the people around you.
Yeah. In this project, Victims and Villain, there's only one guest, Hustle. What made you decide to go? It's just me and Hustle.
Today, you got time.
I'm a fan, Musiq Soulchild. I do this.
So, all right, let me put it like this. Okay. Think of the hustle as, so I have an imprint. I don't have a label, but I have an imprint, and it's called Soulstar Music Company. And think of the hustle as the first artist on Soulstar Music Company. So as a label, or as an imprint, it's the same thing. That's why I didn't want to call it Soulstar Records. I wanted to call it's a music company. It's a company that I own, and what do we make? We make music. You have food companies, you have toy companies, you have video game companies. The Soulstar Music Company is a music company. I wanted to have a much broader definition than just a record label. No diss to record labels, but I don't move like a record label. So I think about artists and artistry holistically. but the foundation of what I present is going to be music based. So the hustle was an intention of mine that I wanted to present to you guys, that I later had to realize that it was half baked, it wasn't ready, and the industry or the landscape wasn't fit for that type of presentation. And what I mean by that is I wanted it to be a kind of from the ground up type situation where everybody, could sort of like be a part of building it. I had other iterations and other brands that I wanted to present that was more fully fleshed out, but this was the newest one, and it came about from being inspired by being out here in Atlanta. And I wanted to sort of have the hustle be, a homage brand or an ode to, the Atlanta, or for the most part, the Southern sound, because that was becoming a wave when I was cultivating the hustle. Mm-hmm. So when I presented it and it didn't go, how I prefer for it to have gone, and it didn't really do much. And in a lot of ways, creatively, I can agree with some of the naysayers and the people that didn't mess with it too much. But that's just because I'm like very subconscious and I'm very critical about my own work. And it was a lot of bad traffic in my life at that time where that didn't help. And I was kind of like discouraged. But the reason why I featured the hustle on this project is because I wanted to remind people that, one, the hustle is a thing. It wasn't no mistake. It just wasn't ready yet. And I overestimated people's ability to discern what was happening and underestimated how people weren't prepared to process the concept of one person doing two things, like fully, intentionally, So that was my bad. But I need for people to understand, like, this is like a real thing, Yes, I needed to go back to the drawing board. I needed to restructure. I needed to rebrand, and I needed to figure that out. But I meant it when I did it, know. And I also featured the hustle on my last album, Feel the Real, as well, on a song called One More Time. It's also featuring a good friend of mine, Willie Hen, dope rapper. Like, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. And I thought that instead of, because that's where I got the idea to do that. Instead of trying to bring people into hustle's world, I said, okay, everybody's looking at music. Everybody's paying attention to music. Let me bring the hustle into music's world and do it in real time so that people can, like, put it together and be like, oh, okay, I see what's happening now. That's what I'm hoping would happen. But the album not having any features, not because I didn't want any other features. It's just because there was no time. There just was no time to put anybody on it, because everything was moving like this. But I'm the hustle, so I can feature,
That's that right. Way.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, so just look forward to more
of the hustle. I love it. I love it. You're touring right now. How is touring and being on the road, reconnecting with your fans?
It's been really cool. It's been a blessing. Shouts out to Kim. Shouts out to Lettucey. Shouts out to the Soul to Soul tour. It's been going really well. I need to, continuously announce to people that I need you guys to get there early because I go on first.
Okay.
A lot of people have been expressing their disappointments. We start on time.
Get there on time.
We start on time every time. So if you want to catch me, please get there early. Every city is different, different time zones, and different venues start at different times. Predominantly, it starts at 8 o'clock-ish. Sometimes it starts earlier. Sometimes it starts at 7. Sometimes it starts a little later, 8:15 or whatever. depending on what's going on. However, I go on first. And it's not a lot of time, but it's a good time. So I like to encourage people to get there early, as possible. But yeah, it's definitely been really cool getting back out there on the road. I've always been on the road, but it's been very sporadic here and there. I've done a few runs. I wouldn't say a tour, but essentially it's a tour, but it's more like a run. I do like a run on the City Winery run. A bunch of venues that are really cool. There's another one out in Oakland called Yoshi's. I'll do like 3 or 4 days in a row, and these are 2 shows a night. So I've been doing that for years. The Blue Note is another one, and then I'll just do random one-off dates here and there. But this is the first time in a long time that I've been on a tour, so I'm very grateful for the consistency. Being able to be in you guys' faces when I'm talking about the new album, having a new album to promote, like all of this is good traffic. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. My last question to you before I leave you is you're from a city that created a beautiful sound with so many legends, and you being one. But what does it mean to you coming from Philly and the music that you've given to the world?
It's a big deal because, I grew up in a town that had its own sound. A lot of people think of, Motown, they think of Detroit. There was a sound that was cultivated there. And there are other cities that have their own sound as well. You got Minnesota and their own sound. And you got, Oakland and the Bay, they got their own sound. And of course you have the South, they have their own sound. And then you have, New York, they had their own sound. And, a lot of different places across the country that are known for their sounds. You got the, for different genres as well, not just R&B and soul music. You also have jazz and blues and, and church gospel music and spiritual music, and hip hop, and, you have all of these different sounds. So it's no small thing to be established as a city that is known for having a sound. It may not have been as big, just culturally speaking, and R&B and soul music culture, as big as Motown, but the sound of Philadelphia was very big. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that know about it and don't realize that that's what was happening. So for you to be a person that grew up in that town and music is just all around you to the point where it's so normalized, you think that that's just life. And it's inevitable for you to be a part of that. Even as people that weren't really pursuing a career in music, very musically gifted people, they went off to be other things, but can really sing and can really play and can really perform. And just go check them out in the open mics. Yeah. It's like, why aren't you signed? Like, yeah, I'm good on this real estate, bro. Like, I'm just gonna do this. So I got my restaurants. Like, but dude, you're good. Like, yeah, I know, but thank you. But this is more stable. Doctors and teachers, like really, really good, but they get it honest because we got the cheat code from being in a town that cultivated a sound. Like it was in the streets, it was in the air, it was in the water, Yeah. So it was inevitable that, when people were started catching wind of what was going on at the time in Philly, and just make a point, we didn't start the NeoSoul thing. We didn't. Let's just make that clear. I don't know if people know that or not. Like, it didn't start in Philadelphia. There was just so many of us in Philly that it looked like it came from Philly. A lot of us was listening to other people that weren't in Philly that were already doing that. But it was so sporadic, and it was so here and there, but yeah, there's a lot of people that were out before, the whole NeoSoul explosion out of Philly,
Mm-hmm.
and ironically, a lot of us didn't really identify as NeoSoul. It was just something that it was like almost like a handle for us to hold, to grab onto, that
Yeah.
people can identify. They just grouped us all up into the NeoSoul category, and
Yeah.
we're not going to protest against it, but if you just do a little bit of research, you'll find a lot of artists and feelers like NeoSoul. What is that? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, cool, yeah, sure. You still gonna get the album? You gonna show up to the show? Fine, I'll be NeoSoul. So it's not that we didn't agree with it per se. It's just that we all didn't identify that way, but we went along with it because it was the train that was going, So I just wanted to throw that out there and just make that little distinction. But I know, audience members, and consumers, for the most part, you guys think, in compartments, you got to put stuff in a box in order for you to understand. I get it. This is not a diss or a shot.
Right.
I'm just saying there's a whole nother perspective if you're interested. Outside of that, it's all love. Like, we accept it. We've rolled with it. It's been working for us. So, we appreciate the look. But it's kind of like been an itch. I've always been kind of one of actually, I don't want to like ruin the party, but blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Musiq Soulchild, just for continuing putting out music, keeping R&B alive, because it never died.
Right.
It's never died. You said right, so that makes me feel you have a comment on that. You have a thought.
So I'm just going to say thank you. I'm just going to say thank you.
I thank you. I'm looking forward to more music from Musiq Soulchild, The Hustle, seeing you on the road. I want to tell you, don't stop, because you're a living legend. Your catalog.
Thank you. As long as you guys keep showing up, I'll keep showing up.
We're here for it. Your catalog lives forever. People, get Victims and Villain. This is just one of many new Musiq Soulchild's projects, because I know he has a lot in the chamber to release. We support you here at Taste Radio. We support you on the Hybrid Soul Countdown. My guest today is Musiq Soulchild. Please follow him, support him, get there early to see this masterpiece. I appreciate you. It's the Hybrid Soul with Kelly Kinkaid, Musiq Soulchild.